shaping minds. Vets who stood strong, gig workers hustling just to get along. Parents, elders, first-time voters in line. Same clock ticking, same moment in time. No dark money whispers, no backroom deals. Daylight choices and the truth that's real. Labels don't own us, we bigger than signs. Accountability lives where democracy thrives. Our vote counts, yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard, we don't play no games. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future, united we found. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. Integrity first, let the people speak loud. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future, united. Clear facts, no spin. Education unlocked, breaking down the process from the door to the box. Who earns the trust? Who shows up to serve? Asking the questions. Leaders got nerves. Neighborhoods talking. Town halls packed. Local voices first. Yeah, we built it like that. Different faiths, views, so walking as one. Democracy stronger when we all get it done. Yeah. Our vote counts. Yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From coast to coast, let the movement expand. How we play no games. From coast to coast, let the movement expand. Power in the people, future in our hands. Our vote counts, stands tall, no doubt. When we show up informed, that's what it's all about. Our vote counts, stands tall, no doubt. When we show up informed, that's what it's all about. This ain't no cycle, this is a standard. Long-term vision, principles, plans, from schools to the boards, up to the higher seats. We connect the dots from the block to the streets. Peaceful power, respect and demand. Integrity measured by actions, not plans. OVC active, participation mounts. When the people stand ready, turnout counts. Yeah. Our vote counts. Yeah, remember the name. Every voice heard. We don't play no games. From the city to the plains, freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we found. Our vote counts, stand tall, no doubt. Integrity first, let the people speak loud. From the city to the plains, let freedom resound. Different stories, same future. United we found. Every voice. Every voice, every vote, every vote. Integrity, inclusion, accountability. OVC, OVC, yeah. 2026. My vote counts. So does yours.
It does not matter what color hijab I wear. It always looks like I have no head. But I assure you, I have a head. A very big head. But here we are. Candidates Roundtable. Our vote counts. March 1st, 2026. A new month. A new month is upon us. A new month is upon us. Do my hands look ashy? They look a bit ashy. Just a bit. Check out our new background for the month of March. It's Women's History Month. Doesn't mean that women are history. It means that women make history, okay? Women's History Month, March 1st, starts the month where we remember all of the wonderful things that women did, like give birth to me. That's all I can think of right now. Also, Tuesday is a big day around these United States parts. I know we have big days all the time. We had a big weekend. You guys didn't hear Michael B. Jordan won an NAACP Image Award. Tuesday starts March Madness primaries. Texas, Arkansas, and North Carolina. Texas, Arkansas, and North Carolina have their official primary day. Texas has runoffs. So if a candidate doesn't get, I think it's 50% plus one or something like that, they have to have a runoff in May. So Texas is, oh, thank you. Oh, I like that actually. It matches very well with the background. So if all goes well on Tuesday, there won't be any runoffs for Texas in May, but I get the feeling that there will be some runoffs. I'm seeing some scuttlebutt that more people have showed up to vote. A lot of people did early voting, which ended in Texas on Friday. Early voting ended in North Carolina yesterday. So hopefully we get a better turnout for these primaries than we have in the past because everybody's talking about them. I talk about them all the time. I can't stop talking about them. In fact, people wish I would. And I tell them, no, I'm never going to stop talking about it. I'm never going to stop. Well, I'll eventually stop, but for now, I want you people to show up and vote. And then, after you vote, I don't want you to take your foot off the gas. No, I want you to continue to lobby and press the people you have sent to office or the people who were chosen by a majority of votes to go to whatever office they were chosen for. I want you to make sure they do their job. Don't give them your vote and then be like, okay, bye, see ya, have a nice time in Washington or at the State House. Not at all. You make sure they're doing their job. If they said they were going to get millions of dollars for health care for your district or state, well, guess what they got to do? Yeah. If they said they were going to fix the potholes and help your granny get a new roof put on her house, guess what they got to do? And I know grannies will make sure you do it. So let me see if we have our candidates. We do have Cortney. Cortney, hello. Today we have Cortney Peterson, LaVon Barnes, and I can't think of the others because my list is on my phone, and that's where I am doing this from, my phone. Hey, Cortney, how are you? I'm good.
All right, let me see if I can get this effect this time. I think I can do it.
We're waiting for 4 other people.
Ooh, look at that. Nailed it. Can I adjust it? I don't know if I can adjust it. I can't hear you for some reason. Do I have my volume down? There we go. Oh, God, my background changed. What? There we go.
Hold on.
Ayana, I can't hear you for some reason. You're muted.
Hello?
There you are.
Oh my gosh, these devices. If I could just have them not switch my iPad, turn the volume on, whatever. Anyway. Oh, you were sent a Google Meet link.
We send a Google Meet link via the via this.
Well, I tell you what, LaVon, it wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Your
It
name's
was a
attached. No, I'm just
TikTok
playing.
link.
Your name's attached.
Oh,
No.
they're
No.
probably listening to directions, and I just skipped it all and came straight to TikTok.
Thank you, Cortney.
Don't thank me. I didn't follow instructions.
I did not send nothing. I know send nothing, Mr. LaVon. It wasn't me. It was the wind. The wind carried you to a room where there were no people.
Far away.
I apologize. We apologize for that. We do apologize
Oh, it's all good.
for that mistake.
So I think Sam will be joining in a second because me and Sam were looking at each other. Him being from Montana, me being in North Carolina, him living in -4-degree weather, and me being in 75-degree weather. So there's a lot of good conversation that we had.
Ooh,
Well, I'm glad you
we're
guys
in
got to
Montana right
bond.
now.
Hello, Sam. Great. I apologize for the erroneous link you were sent. You and LaVon were sent.
Where was that?
Great. I'm glad you got to do a little bit of bonding. I want to make it very clear that was not my fault. Not me.
Oh, no problem.
But you're here. LaVon, are you able to turn your camera on or?
I am. I'm trying to get I need to get my background right for you.
Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
I forgot I need to put mine on.
Clean up the mess there, LaVon.
Oh, it's clean.
Mm.
It's clean.
Get my
Let's see. We're
Sam.
I like that gingerbread man. See
I'm
who
trying
else-
to go through and pull up the background I was using last time here. I'm just having a hard time finding it. Give me a second. I was all set up to have it all over through my computer.
I know TikTok only lets you go live from what do you call this? A smartphone. It's still behind the times. So how are we feeling, Cortney?
In general, about, I haven't slept in 2 nights. I was just getting ready to go to bed the other night when all of a sudden headlines about Iran, and then I didn't sleep all night.
It's been a time.
It's been, Yep. And I've got a 16-year-old son, and I'm like, thank God he's the last one with his namesake in the family, because, and who knows if that's going to matter to this administration as far as a draft, Who knows? Who knows what the future looks like right now?
It's unpredictable in a way that makes me very uncomfortable.
Yes.
Every time we do one of these roundtables, at least when I host, it's always on, we're either on the brink of something or something big just happened.
You should stop hosting the roundtable.
I should. You know what? Today's my last day.
If it's always on your heels
It's
of right
always
before, gosh.
That's going to be the name of my autobiography. It's always something. There you go, LaVon. You're muted. LaVon, you're muted. You're muted.
I'm not muted now.
There you go.
And now you're
Now
back.
Now we
of
lost
course
the
my
background.
You gotta love technology. That won't make life simple. Here we go. Save. Bam.
All right.
We are waiting for one or two more people, but since we've got a good room here, I'm going to ask that you all share this with your followers. You can repost it. You can add it to your. There we go.
Vance.
And you can
Vance.
spam your followers. Just press down on the prompt and go all the way down the line and let the people know you are once again going live on TikTok with our vote counts to talk about the issues. So many things. Let's see. Okay. And also, for anyone who is in the room and you're familiar with what we do here, please send your daily heart me to support the account. And also, while you're in the audience and you're just sitting and listening, just tap the screen. Let's get them likes up. Get the likes up, get the shares up. We got a big day on Tuesday, but not for anyone who's in the room.
Just Texas, huh?
Oh, wait a minute. No, LaVon. He's in North Carolina. No, LaVon.
Oh,
Big day on Tuesday.
North Carolina has primaries already?
Yeah, North Carolina has primaries. I'm not in the primary, so it's a big day for a lot of people, but it ain't for me. I'll see
you
y'all.
still have to vote, don't you?
I mean, yes, I'll be voting on Tuesday for sure. But we just finished up early voting on, I want to say Saturday.
Yes.
So with record numbers in the county that I live in, so we're interested to see what's going to be the turnout. What's the results? So.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad that a lot of people showed up to early vote. They didn't wait. Early voting, when a lot of people vote early, that sends a message to the state that people like to vote early and maybe they should keep it. A lot of states decided in the last few years to kind of clamp down on early voting, which is a shame because it's a great opportunity to have people vote when it's convenient for them, right? Instead of having to wait for that one day. Maybe you get the day off from work, maybe you don't. In Ohio, depending on the type of employee you are, you get 4 hours of paid leave from your job.
Said more paid leave to go vote. I would think that should be.
We need more satellite voting locations too. That's a big thing out in rural states. Is there's a section of my state where the nearest place to actually go vote is about a 3.5 hour one-way drive.
Oh no. No. Does your state have absentee voting, Sam?
Yes, but it can be denied almost arbitrarily.
Oh, so you have to have an excuse for absentee voting there?
Yes, you do, and there's no need to justify why it may or may not qualify. As weird as that is. But also in my state, there's a pretty good chunk of the state that is so far away from any form of infrastructure whatsoever that it's a full day's trip to go vote, and it's also in one of the poorest areas of not only my state but the nation as a whole, which makes so most people they couldn't afford to do that in their wildest dreams.
So is there early voting or any kind of I don't know.
There is early voting when there is postal access.
What?
Yeah, there's a chunk of my state that doesn't actually have any post offices in it, so that's hit or miss.
I mean, we're talking rural here. This is.
Oh yeah.
I could never imagine that. Even driving through Ohio, I've never seen an area like that. That's crazy.
So my district is the largest not at large district in the country, and I can drive for about 9.5 continuous hours without leaving my district, and about 3 of those I can drive through without seeing another human being.
Wow.
The frontier. Wow.
All right.
Minus
So
4 out there. So
we're going to go ahead and get started with the introductions. My name is Ayana. This is Our Vote Counts. This is our candidates roundtable for March 1st, 2026. You see the background? See my background? It's Women's History Month. Hey! OVC, Our Vote Counts, is a nonpartisan coalition of citizens from diverse states and backgrounds, as you just heard, united by a shared commitment to empowering voters and promoting candidates who stand for integrity, inclusion, and accountability in the upcoming elections. Our Vote Counts is more than a name. It's a promise, a movement, and a rallying cry for democracy. Together, we are shaping the future, one informed vote at a time. We thank you for joining us. For the candidates who are here, I want you all to introduce yourself and say what office you are running for.
Well, Women's Month, I'm going to go first. I'm Cortney Peterson. I'm running for the House of Representatives, federal level, in Ohio's Congressional District 11.
Okay, LaVon.
what's going on, everybody? This is Coach LaVon Barnes. I'm in North Carolina running for State House 64, which is in Alamance County.
And Sam.
Yeah, my name is Sam Lux. I'm a candidate running for U.S. House of Representatives in MTO2 in Montana, and I'm a farrier by trade.
All right, so big weekend. If you guys didn't hear, Michael B. Jordan won an NAACP Image Award. That was a joke.
No.
Ha 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 ha. No, I'm talking about war, man. Are we at war? Are we? Can we call it
in my
that?
opinion.
Well, it seems like it, since Trump said lives will be lost in war. That seems like a declaration of war to me.
And lives have been lost.
Already.
A lot of lives. On both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all sides,
Well,
because there's three parties involved.
Anything that is defined as ongoing and prolonged military action, in my opinion, counts as a war. I mean, that is a prolonged offensive.
So I don't know how much the people who are going to start voting on Tuesday nationwide, where that's going to be on their list of things that they care about. But one of the things that people seem to care about and keep talking about more than anything is affordability. Affordability. Look, what did Tupac say? They got money for wars, but can't feed the poor.
That's right.
Can't feed the poor, and that is true. Americans have to raise money to pay for dialysis and organ transplants and asthma inhalers, and we spend about how many billions of dollars every day just indiscriminately spicy booming people. What do you all think? I'll start with you, Cortney. I'll ask this question. Hold on. Let me get my questions. Grocery prices and inflation in general remain worrisomely high for most Americans still. And now there's talk that maybe the gas prices are going to go up, or maybe there's going to be a shortage. We don't know. Please describe 3 steps that the United States should carry out to improve the economic outlook for Americans, whether short-term or long-term.
I mean, there has to be a short-term and a long-term approach, because we can't just put a Band-Aid on this issue. So short-term, it's a midterm year. So we have to get out these representatives who are voting away our money to foreign nations, who are voting away our money to trillion-dollar defense budgets, instead of reinvesting money into our nation. So that's a short-term goal, is to get these people out of office who are voting away our money on weapons and foreign nations. Long-term, we are going to have to reprioritize the federal budget. And I know I keep coming back to that, but that's really what a lot of the issue is in this country. We don't have our priorities straight. We're always thinking offensively, how can we remain the superpower in the world, instead of thinking, how can we take care of our people? How can we reinvest in the people that are living here, instead of worrying about what else is going on and how we can remain this superpower, and how can we milk Americans out of all of their money to keep this military industrial complex going, how can we reinvest in the people who are giving us this money? So I think that those have to be our short-term and long-term goals, is reprioritizing that budget to reinvest in the people so that we can have food security and medical access.
Okay, thank you, Cortney. LaVon?
Well, I think the first thing is that we need to be honest and open and transparent in what the realities are, because of us being put into international conflicts unnecessarily, which would include all the things that Courtney is saying. I mean, I think voters right now, some of them may use this as a means of voting against a certain candidate that might be aligned with Trump. But I think most voters right now are not even concerned about that, and more concerned about how they're going to pay their electricity bill, how they're going to pay pay for the medication that they need. And so the long term of that is going to be, being open and saying there's going to be some really hard times for a lot of people until the federal government actually prioritizes the people that pay for those $100 million bombs that are being, flown out of the air right now. That there's going to be a little bit more suffering that people are going to have to do, and that in turn puts pressure on the state governments and local municipalities to have to cover the cost. And depending on where you live right now, like in Alamance County, North Carolina, we have county commissioners who refuse to even want to fund public schools because our state, which is the only state in the United States that still hasn't passed a budget. With all those things, I think the biggest thing that we have to do is be open and transparent with the people that we're going to be representing, or the people that live in our states. That the hard times are definitely here, and they'll probably be extended because of this war.
And LaVon, you're running for a state office. What about taxes at the state level? What about the elimination of like a grocery tax or gasoline tax or some kind of immediate relief?
Well, in the state of North Carolina, to be honest with you, we're number one in business and number 50 in how we fund education. And primarily that is because we have cut taxes for businesses to a point where the businesses are like, don't cut any more taxes for us. So prioritizing cutting a sales tax, cutting some of these other things that the state has power to do, property taxes for that matter, suspending a property tax. We have to think of also the consequences of when we do that. Most of our municipalities are the only way they can serve the people that they live is through property tax or sales tax. So if we cut that, then in a county like mine, where we don't even have enough ambulances to cover the county because they're always being, how are people gonna be able to get emergency medical services? How our roads are gonna be paved? So I look at it like this: there's enough money to be able to do things in the state of North Carolina that they have in this rainy day fund, to be able to alleviate some of the costs that the people of North Carolina are going to be seeing if they want to. But Republicans, honestly, control the House and the Senate here, and they still can't pass a budget. So I don't expect them to do anything that's going to help the people of North Carolina at all until we can get them out of those seats in November.
Okay, thank you. And Sam, what are some short-term and long-term things, just like a 2 or 3 steps that you think the U.S. should take to make things more affordable for Americans, for U.S. citizens?
Yeah. So the first thing, and something I talked about extensively when I was on this program a few days ago, is to aggressively start rolling back the subsidies that we're paying to the highest earning companies within the country, and to instead reprioritize those funds directly towards programs that are benefiting the underserved. One of the biggest areas I want to see this is in the healthcare related industries. The amount of subsidies that we pay to non-patient related healthcare services. This is insurance, this is the administratum around it, all of that kind of thing, is roughly combined about $3 trillion a year, which if that was entirely pulled away from those industries, we could reprioritize that into a single payer healthcare system that could ensure that every person on American soil is receiving basic medical care without having to raise taxes on any single individual by even a penny. That right there would do a lot to be able to alleviate care. Second thing I want to see is I want to aggressively attack the way that we are currently going about grants and subsidies for home builders, specifically in the fact that it's a really, really bad problem in my state where you have homes that are worth $750,000 or $1 million being built on a subsidy program that was originally created, or a grant program originally created to help build starter single family homes for middle and lower class Americans. And then on top of that, the government is then using even more of our tax dollars to be able to pay rent on those homes until they're occupied, making it so that it de-incentivizes the actual home builders and investors from actually fixing our housing crisis. So there's the second thing that I would like to see done. And then the third thing that I want to see done is, there's a lot of talk within the current administration about how we need to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse. And I say, okay, let's actually take a look at that. Let's take a look at the areas that we're seeing waste, fraud, and abuse within the bloated administration that we currently have, such as being able to actually aggressively roll back the efforts that we have towards these needlessly costly wars that we're doing on the behalf of foreign nations, to make sure that we are investing more into our immediate infrastructure and that we are pulling back from this. It's not even a globalized point of view, it's an imperialistic point of view. So those are my three, short terms. The last thing I would say is one long-term solution, and kind of echoing what the other candidates here said, is aggressive investment in education. Because something that we see over and over and over again, along with healthcare being a major reason why people, and again, I always go back to rural areas because it's where I'm at, but people in rural areas fail to be able to be productive members of society is normally due to one of two things. One, that they are unable to get access to critical healthcare when it's needed, and they become either infirm, disabled, or unable to work afterwards, or they become dependent on addictive substances. And two, that there is a critical lack of education for those same groups of people that make it so that they are never able to become a more productive member of the United States society, of its economy, everything else, which does create a drain on everyone economically, generation after generation.
Okay, thank you. I love those answers. So I'm wondering what you all think, because Cortney, you're in Ohio, LaVon, you're in North Carolina, Lux, Sam, you're in Montana. Three completely different regions of the United States where, depending on what you do for a living, a couple of extra dollars per hour would make a difference or wouldn't make a difference. What do you think about raising the federal minimum wage or your state's minimum wage? What should that be? Should it be across the board, one thing? Should it be regional? Should it be state by state, county by county? What do you think, LaVon?
That's a great question. Actually, that's one of my campaign priorities, is raising the state minimum wage to at least $20 an hour. We already are seeing post-COVID, the power of the worker was relevant post-COVID, where instead of you paying $7.25, which is the federal minimum wage, and has been that way since President Obama, I think, and since 2009, I think it went up since 2009. Jobs are paying somewhere between 15 to 17 an hour already. So there was that myth of, we're going to put businesses out of business because we're going to raise the minimum wage. It's going to, prices are going to be through the roof for consumers. We're going to have to put it on. Listen, I want people to have a living wage and not a wage where they're just surviving. I'm a public school educator, and I've been in education for 23 years. I've taught in Maryland, I've taught in Texas, I've taught in PA, and in North Carolina. I would tell you that educators are grossly underfunded too. as well as our classified workers. That would be our bus drivers, our cafeteria staff, our custodial staff. And many of them, just like our educators, are having to work 2 or 3 or 4 jobs. Now, how could you ever attain a level of security if you constantly are at work? If you're constantly if you miss a day, it's going to mess you up just by missing those hours, right? If America is the richest, by far the richest country in the world, okay, we should be paying our workers a living wage, and that's at least $20 an hour. And I say that at least federally, it should be at least 20. States should vary based on the cost of living in your state. When I'm from New York City, $20 an hour in New York City is probably on the low end. It probably needs to be on further up if you live in the city. And so I think that is critically important for all of us as candidates, is to push our state's minimum wages and our federal minimum wages up to a respectable living wage, not a surviving wage.
Thank you, LaVon. Hey, Cortney, you get to Congress. The first thing you do, you introduce a bill that says we're raising the minimum wage to $20 an hour. It passes, $20 an hour across the board all around the country. What do you think is going to happen?
I think the Republicans are going to have a collective heart attack. And then I think that the quality of life is going to go up. And I think the states are going to have a little bit of stability come through, because they're not going to have to support as many people that are having to live off of subsidies. And the federal minimum wage absolutely has to be raised, because states like Ohio are not going to raise the minimum wage, because they're going to leave it at the absolute minimum, because the quality of life standard in Ohio is extremely low. In order to qualify for any kind of like state-sponsored benefits, you have to be living in squalor, basically. Yeah. Ohio, you can barely have your lights on, and then you can qualify for SNAP or for Medicaid, and it's shameful. So Ohio is not going to raise the minimum wage in the state. So we absolutely have to raise the federal minimum wage to force a lot of these oppressive states to raise the quality of life. So I think that that's what's going to happen in a lot of states is a lot of these oppressive states are going to have a collective heart attack. And then eventually they're going to see that the morale is up with all employees, and people who weren't previously working because maybe childcare was, they couldn't afford childcare before. Maybe they're back in the workforce now, because now both parents can afford to work because they're actually making a little bit of money. So more people are back in the workforce. We're having more production. We're having more, more profits across the board. And the morale is high, because when people are paid, we're seeing it in New York City with the snow shoveling. When people are getting paid $30 an hour to do labor, hard labor. Shoveling snow is hard. I live in Cleveland. I know how hard it is to shovel snow. So people are happy to do hard labor if they're being paid well. That snow got removed in record time, and it got done well. And that's because they were being paid a livable wage to do it. So I think that there's a lot of changes that would benefit every state across the board, after the shock wears off.
All right. Thank you, Cortney. Sam, what do you think? Can money buy you happiness, Sam?
Well, I voluntarily chose to work in one of the most brutally backbreaking industries that's out there, so I have a whole separate idea on that. But when it comes to it, what I like, when I think about the idea of raising the federal minimum wage, I think it's absolutely necessary. At the very minimum, at bare minimum, it needs to double from what it is now. However, I can firmly say that I will only be supporting legislation to raise the federal minimum wage that aggressively tackles the out of control inflationary period that we are in and puts in guardrails that will be able to control that inflation moving forward. Because the one thing that we have seen over and over and over again, where you see a country end up in a runaway inflationary spiral that causes the cost of living to spiral out of control, and then the immediate fix is to aggressively start raising that wage without addressing the underlying causes that are creating that runaway inflation, you end up with a hyperinflationary economy that ends up sooner than later making it so that you can start paying people $1,000 an hour and they're still not going to be able to afford bread. Just look at Germany post World War II, moving up into the 1950s. So I'm absolutely in favor of raising the minimum wage. I think that we should have the minimum wage at the federal level set to $15 an hour with aggressive incentives for states to provide additional minimum wage limits above that, depending upon the needs of their state. But I think that that has to be paired with legislation that will very, very aggressively deal with putting guardrails on inflation.
Can I just add to Sam's point
Yeah.
real quick? So yeah, the raising of the minimum wage aggressively is because it's long past the time, right? Inflationary. Yes, we're talking about inflation now and things of that nature, but the raising of the minimum wage to a living wage has been long past the time. So even if raising it to 15, even raising it to 20 is probably below what most will need to be able to truly like live and not just survive. And so that point, and then I wanted to also harp on something Cortney said. A lot of people want to work, but if they make $1 more than what the standard, than what their standard AMI, average median income is, they can lose all of the benefits by basically making $1 more. So putting those stop gaps into Congress, what Cortney and Sam would do, and closing those loopholes. I mean, making $1 more doesn't make you $10 million richer.
Mhm.
All right. So like we have to truly fix this system of we want people to be off the system, but people make so much money by people being on the system. So it's double talk. And so we have to like truly, I would say just destroy it and rebuild it.
Yeah. If I may add one last thing there as well, something that I would really like to see added to make sure that, because to LaVon's point there, we are so far behind on actually having a livable wage as the minimum wage. What I would like to see happen as part of this larger omnibus bill that would make sure that we are controlling the inflation, we're providing a livable wage, would be to make it so that on a maybe a bi-yearly or tri-yearly basis, every 2 years or every 3 years, have the Bureau of Labor Statistics do a full analysis on what the cost of living is amortized across all 50 states. And then at that point, have that minimum wage adjusted by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, delegate that power to them, and then at that point, if it's going to be dramatically, like a huge leap in numbers, Congress can step in to mitigate at that point, but have that something where we don't need to wait on the bureaucracy of Congress to make those adjustments. So that's one last thing on that.
No, that's fine. I like it when you all jump in and you just kind of talk back and forth. I like that.
Well, because I think Sam probably knows how long it's been since that has happened. How long has it been?
The last time that we had a actual bill put forward that was successful to change the federal minimum wage was 2007, I believe. And even then, it took several years for it to actually go through. And before that, we hadn't had a proper cost of living adjustment. Actually, the last time we used the Bureau of Labor Statistics specifically to set the minimum wage to a livable wage was 1971.
Yeah. I thought it had been around 50 years or so.
Yeah.
Insane.
Well, sounds like we got some work to do there. Something else we got some work to do on that we were talking about before we got started is voting. So many changes around voting in the United States, including in LaVon, your state, tried to, I don't want to say they tried to disenfranchise people, but they have tried to make it difficult for certain people to vote. Sam, it's really difficult for people to vote. And Courtney in Ohio, voting is like, going to sleep and waking up in the morning. It's easy. Access is, you go to the Board of Elections, you can absentee, you can, vote early. You go to election day, it's open from like 6 a.m. to 7 at night. The lines usually at the primaries aren't very long. You walk in, you walk out. It's gravy. Someone didn't like that. Someone didn't like that it was so easy for people to vote. What do you all think about making voter registration automatic, but also completely leaving this up to the states, how they want to implement voting laws, and having the federal government stay out of it, except when it comes to things like the Voting Rights Act, where we have to make sure it's fair for everyone, that it's equal, that it's fair, everybody has their right to vote, and just for the rest of it, leave it up to the states as far as what you need to register, when you need to register, what ID is required, et cetera, et cetera. The SAVE Act wanted to take that away from the states, and it was DOA in the Senate, thank God. But what do you think are some changes that need to be made to the voting process in your state? And I'll start with Sam.
So first off, I'm a big believer that, as we have it outlined within the Constitution, the specifics of how voting is conducted is absolutely a right that belongs to the states, and having that taken away from the states, in my opinion, I see that as a very slippery slope towards having, when we do have a more authoritarian administration in play like we currently have, is a very slippery slope to losing voter privilege and voter access. Now, at the same time, like you said, with the Voting Rights Act, I believe that the federal government's only responsibility when it comes to voting should be to make sure that voting is freely and fairly accessible to each and every citizen of the United States. When it comes to something that I would like to see, and again, I think this needs to be something that's ratified state by state rather than at the federal level, I think that clarifying and unifying the requirements for voting is not necessarily a bad idea. Now, that's not to say that I believe that we need to have some insanely, authoritarian, you got to bring your birth certificate and all these different things to, prove who you are. And if you've ever had a name change or you're married or anything, that might disqualify you. I think that is obscene and it is unconstitutional. What I can say is that right now we already have a system in play that is unified across all 50 states, as well as, places like DC and Puerto Rico, that is for the Real ID system. There is absolutely no reason that a system that we already have in place that proves beyond a doubt that you are who you say you are. You have to show, birth certificate and all this other information in order to get it, cannot be a universal standard for voting. Now, I think that states still need to take into account those who may not be able to acquire this. They need to have alternate forms of verification available. We still need to make sure that we have access to early voting. We still need to make sure that we have access to mail-in voting. But those are, I think it's ridiculous that it's like, the current administration with the SAVE Act is saying we have to reinvent the wheel. We don't. We already have a million different systems to be able to prove that someone is who they say they are and that you are an American citizen. The fact that there is doubt being cast on the things that we have already been relying on to be able to get onto a plane, to be able to, get into a car and operate it, to be able to get a job, and that those things are somehow not enough, that, in my opinion, is calling smoke when there is no fire. Now, what I would like to see, and I mentioned this at the beginning of this interview, is I want to see better access for our underserved and, of course, in my case, our rural communities to be able to gain access to voting. Be this making sure that we have the infrastructure in place so they actually have access to early voting, or be it making sure that there are more satellite polling locations for these people. I think that is something that the federal government absolutely should prioritize spending money on, because at the end of the day, the federal government's job is to make sure that every American citizen has a voice in the American government.
All right. Sam for president, ladies and gentlemen.
You're here.
Sam is bringing messages out here, right? Montana, make sure you vote for Sam. I want to. I want to chime in on what Sam said. I think I agree with a lot of what Sam said. But then there's some things like in North Carolina, right? You can pre-register to vote at 15.
Oh, wow.
I believe that you should be able to, be registered to vote as soon as you are eligible to get a driver's license. To be honest with you, it should automatically be one of those things where we're not even take that stress away of having to register to vote. We just automatically register folks to vote, right? I would say like what we're seeing right now is surgical precision of trying to restrict voting, especially in Black and Brown communities. This is purposely being done by trying to strip away the Voting Rights Act, Civil Rights Act, trying to pass the SAVE Act. All these things are trying to create fear and trying to further complicate the process that everybody should have the right to do without any type of repercussion. If you are already, if the amount of people who are committing voter fraud, you would have thought that it's rampant. You would have thought that 1 in every 20 people who vote probably are committing voter fraud, the way that the current administration makes it look like. Voting fraud is minuscule, like very, very small. So creating fear causes division. And it also what it does is it makes people who are already struggling to get out to go vote want to go vote. It also plants the seed of saying, oh, my vote doesn't matter anyway. So what we need to be doing is we need to be increasing the number of hours that our polling locations are open in the state of North Carolina, at least. We need to be increasing the number of days of early voting. We need to make sure that Saturday and Sunday, there are options for longer hours to go vote on those days, since most people who are working 9 to 5 jobs also may have one of those times to get off. What I really want to see is all businesses allowing a few hours in their day, open later, close earlier. I don't care what it is, but you should want your employees to exercise their right to vote without intimidation, because we all have a point. We all have a part to play in the process, and all this is doing is giving us distractions. So I agree with everything that Sam said. I think we need, like I said, pre-register our teams, early, get them involved in being able to, be a part of that process so they can get comfortable with being a part of that process. We need to make sure that we have access to, like in North Carolina, if you want to early vote and you do not have a real ID, you can go to your Board of Elections right now and get a identification card, right? But it's not kind of promoted in a way where everybody knows that. It's promoted in a way that if you're an advocate or you're somebody who's in politics like we are, we're able to tell people that, but it's not something that's being promoted. And so we need more of that, and we need to make sure that our Board of Elections are even, because in the state of North Carolina, the governor, it used to be whoever the governor is, he gets to appoint who's on the state Board of Elections in the favor of that particular, I guess that particular political affiliation, right? The state of North Carolina General Assembly had enough time to strip the governor of all of those things, and in turn flipped it and made it a 3-2 Republican majority now. And those folks are now restricting and making it harder by taking away college campus polling places, specifically at North Carolina A&T University, which is North Carolina's oldest historically Black college university, because they know that young people are going to be the ones who are going to change the world and change the way that this midterm looks. So they're going to do all of these things, but we have to be 10 steps ahead, and we need to be calculated and plotted in how we are going to get people to the polls, get people registered, talk about and advocate to go ahead and go vote early and not worry about that, waiting on Tuesday to do it. So I think those are some of the things that we can do.
Okay, thank you, LaVon. And Cortney, I want to ask you I want to put a different spin on the question for you.
Sure.
You and I live in the same district in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Our state is heavily gerrymandered,
Mm-hmm.
heavily. And the voters tried to change how the district maps were drawn, and that failed. What do you think where should we go from there? I know that the Dems and the Republicans ultimately settled on a map. It's still not fair. In my opinion, it's still very red. A lot of people are forced into districts where they essentially have no voting power whatsoever. But just to move things along, the Democrats were like, okay, we'll just go along with whatever. What do you think should be the next steps for the state of Ohio as far as preventing gerrymandering or preventing people's voting power being diluted in this state?
I I honestly don't have a great solution to it at the state level because we don't have strong Democratic leadership. Like you said, they just say, oh, okay, let's just give in at this point. At the federal level, we see, Gavin Newsom in California fighting, and Virginia put up a heck of a fight. So in Ohio, I don't know what the answer is because Ohio, even the Democrats have a lot of dark money influence to keep things kind of repressed. So I don't know what the answer is, honestly. Now, Ohio already has state ID. We already have to show ID to vote. We've already had to do a lot of these things that states are trying to do. I love the idea of automatic registration, voter registration. But as far as gerrymandering, we need to address it at a federal level because they are targeting Black and Brown communities. They are silencing the voices of those communities. So to Sam's point, the states should be able to govern voter elections. But at the same time, if the states are allowing all of this gerrymandering, what can the federal government do as an oversight to protect the people that we are elected to represent? So can we come in with some kind of oversight to say there's absolutely no more gerrymandering? We're going to divide these states in a much fairer manner because, District 7 doesn't need to look like the letter K from the alphabet in Ohio. Why does it look like that? Why does every district in these heavily gerrymandered states like Texas, why do they look like Roman numerals or, something? I don't know. I don't know the answer.
And we see one state that still has a case pending at the Supreme Court, Louisiana, where people are fighting the gerrymandered map that was redrawn to make it more fair for Black voters. They created a district for Black voters.
Yes.
And it was challenged as being unfair.
Yes.
But at the same time.
Yes. And it's all hypocrisy. Yeah. It's all hypocrisy because the Republicans come into all of these states that are trying to turn blue and they gerrymander it to turn it red. And then when a couple of states come in to try to turn theirs blue, it's, well, you can't do this. This is unfair. This is unjust. You're cheating.
Well, I also
think it's all hypocrisy.
I also think that the American people are believe in democracy. I believe that they don't believe in that cheaters should win ultimately. Yeah. So they can, gerrymander it, all this away, all of that away. And then when they still can't get nothing done, a lot of times it's affecting the same people, or it's affecting the people worse that actually voted for them in the first place. Right? So I just truly believe when you're following one person's directive, then we're talking about the elimination of democracy and the free vote that we have that other countries wish that they had. When we can get back to where independent map makers should make all of the maps, be honest with you, and it shouldn't be partisan at all. It shouldn't be written by, yes, the state should control it, but they should hire independent map makers who have no dog in the fight to create fair maps and make it competitive. And I think let the best candidate win regardless of the side of the aisle that they might be on. And I think that's what's going to make us get back to a level of calmness in our political space. Right now, it's so I'm so either right or I'm so either left, and then you have folks who are unaffiliated that they just don't want to be. They don't want to be tagged with the Democrat or Republican, but they still might side with, they side with one way. But like, if there was competitive races that based on fairly drawn maps, we would see a better turnout. We would see a better elected candidates because they wouldn't be, I guess you could say, bought by one side only thing. I can only vote for this side because this is what my side is saying. And then they could be held accountable, which is what we really want at the end of the day, is accountable. Yes. We want representatives who want to be held accountable and not just winning because they've raised the most money based on dark money or because their lines are so, jacked up. So I believe in this midterm, we're going to see a lot of these gerrymandered districts. I think there's going to be some that are going to lose because I think people just don't want cheaters.
Mm-hmm. Well, we almost saw it with the Afton Bain race. She was in a heavily gerrymandered district, wasn't she, in Tennessee? And she still almost won in that district.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And for no other reason than people want a fair race now.
Okay. And I also think people are tired.
Yes.
Sam, you're muted. Sam, you're muted.
Now your green screen, you have a me moment, Sam. touching screens, green screen's on.
Oh, there you go.
There you are.
Yeah, didn't touch anything, but somehow muted me. But if I could respond to one thing that each of the other candidates here said, it occurred to me when LaVon was talking that I think that something that would be a fantastic use of the federal government would be to actually mandate as part of the federally advised curriculum for schools, specifically in high school, would be a voter education course, specifically something that teaches the basics of, like you said, there are programs out there for those who, need to acquire a different form of ID or something else to be able to go vote, on how to find or register for those early, polling, anything like that. And I think that there is a certain argument that can be made that it is the federal government's responsibility to make sure that the education is available to the people so that they know how to actually find and how to get to their voting location. So I think that could be a really good thing. And then to, respond over to something that Cortney had said there, by the same argument, I've been a long believer that I believe that there is also an argument to be made under the First Amendment that gerrymandering is constitutionally illegal. Now, I know that there have been Supreme Court cases that have ruled the other way in the past, but I think that it is the duty of Congress, especially if we are going to make anything better in the future, that as we have this next generation entering Congress who is not, hopefully as bought and paid for as those who came before them, to actually sit there and create a new law that will, at the federal level, outlaw gerrymandering, not to overstep the rights of states, but to protect the First Amendment for the people of the United States.
Yes.
So I think that can be a really important thing. And my state is a really good example because up until only a couple of years ago, there was only one district for the U.S. House of Representatives in my state. And when they drew the map to divide that up into 1st District and 2nd District, where I now live, it is an incredibly controversial map because they took and they isolated the political parties almost perfectly into the first state being a more liberal state, and the second, or a more liberal district, and the second district being a more conservative district. And they did this in a way that disenfranchises both groups of voters. Literally, both groups are unhappy here in this state because of it. And it shows that gerrymandering, at the end of the day, regardless of which party is currently in power, it is an active detriment to each and every voter.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, LaVon. And thank you, Cortney, for that response. I don't know if you all know this, but part of the federal government is shut down, not funded, ain't got no moolah. Because this also has to do with the state level politics, because we're seeing some overreach into state power. Who is opening a piece of candy? It is Sam. See, that's why you were muted, Sam.
Don't you know it's Ramadan? Come on.
But what do we think about the funding of the Department of Homeland Security? Is it here to stay? Do we need to get rid of it, reform it? Is it doing too much? Are they doing too much, LaVon? Are they doing too much?
Too much or too little? One of the two. I think that specifically when we're talking about ICE, I think we need to look at what ICE is and refocus our energy. And that would include like not funding it right now. I don't believe that, like in the state of North Carolina, they talk a lot about, some of our representatives talk about how we're a border state. And I'm like, a border state to what? The Atlantic Ocean. So like, we don't have, like, do nobody wants folks who are rapists, murderers, people who
You're
commit.
just saying all of the no words.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
I'm bad at
One more
TikTok
time.
too, LaVon. I'm bad at TikTok.
Just say criminals. Nobody
No,
wants
what is-
criminals.
Okay, yes, all bad people. Nobody wants bad people
Right.
in our streets. But I also feel like criminalizing. Hopefully, that's not a bad word.
No, that's fine.
All right, cool. Hopefully, not criminalizing groups of people in order to push an agenda is that's not what America stands for. That's not what I stand for at all. So the department, how it's being ran, I think everybody who's running that department needs to go. Everybody that was appointed to that department needs to go, and there needs to be some new hires there to rewrite the ship. All of these agencies should be independent of the presidency. They should not. What I mean by that is like they should be independently ran in a way, and not like taking their barking orders from somebody and then they're trying to fulfill a quota of some kind. So I'm cool with Homeland Security right now, not where it's at until we can get some new leadership there.
Okay, but right now there are people not getting paid.
Well,
The
I don't
TSA
want-
agents aren't
Okay,
getting their
I don't
paycheck.
want- Yeah, I don't want. That's what I hate about politics is
Yeah.
the trickle down negative effects of people who are innocent, who are just trying to do their job, who chose a profession. I don't like that part. I believe that if they're not getting paid, Congress should not be getting paid. I don't believe the president should get paid. So anybody who, if there's a shutdown of any kind, I don't believe that any of that personnel should be getting paid because they need to feel it too. It's not the TSA worker who's waking up every day making sure that when we get on a flight that we're safe getting on that flight. That person has nothing to do with what's going on in the White House. All right. So no, I hope that those people get retribution, like they get their back pay as well, because a lot of times they're not even getting back pay from those hours that they're missing right now. I hope that the state governments should be having safety nets for people who are being shut out or in shutdowns too, to be able to help temporarily provide for those workers who are now kind of like living in poverty in a way. So in that aspect, yes, we need to protect our workers, but the people who are running that agency right now that have been appointed by the person who's in office, they got to go.
What do we think about states being either mandated to cooperate with these federal operations, like, I don't know, in Chicago and Illinois it was called Operation Midway Blitz, and they had to get out of the way, make way for ICE, make way for CBP, and just let them run amok and do whatever they needed to do to round people up and put them in detention. What do you think about that, Cortney?
Oh, my policy is abolish ICE. I mean, at this point, there's no way to reform this rogue agency. It's a paramilitary force being unleashed on our citizens and our guests. And I call them guests. I don't call them illegal aliens. They're undocumented immigrants. And a lot of them have been here for years, contributing to our economics, contributing to our society in general, caretakers, laborers, innovators. So abolish ICE is the policy. DHS, I'm still toying around with the idea because I've been alive a lot longer than they've been around. As far as complying with them, no, absolutely not. These, and that's something that we are dealing with now here in Cleveland as well. Local law enforcement absolutely should not be complying. Their job is to protect and serve the people. Although I know there has been argument that their job is actually to protect and serve the property. But either way, ICE is coming in and destroying the property and the people that they are meant to serve. So absolutely not. There should be no cooperation between local law enforcement and this domestic can I say terror?
No, you can't.
I probably can't say that.
T-Root. They say T-Root.
This paramilitary force, illegal paramilitary force unleashed on our people. So absolutely not. There should be no cooperation. Period. Ever.
All right, Sam, what do you think?
So I have already signed on to a petition that, along with other Courage candidates, that is to the abolish ICE point as well. Now, specifically, though, I believe that ICE is a erroneous agency that needs to be reabsorbed into Border Patrol. Specifically because ICE's mandate is far too wide, and it is not clearly, there is no clear definition for it. It has changed from one administration to the next, and it is often used, as Cortney just said, as a paramilitary and as a Gestapo, depending upon who is in office, to target those that are against the current political climate. Now, Border Patrol, on the other hand, has an extremely narrowly defined job, and that is where ICE comes from. And I think that we need to completely remove ICE as an independent agency, resorb it back into Border Patrol. And I am, I get a lot of flack for it on my platform, specifically because I am a big believer that if I get into Congress, I need to come up with solutions that can actually get passed. And that means it cannot be, something that is going to appeal to, just my agenda, just the agenda of my party. It has to be something that can actually come to fruition. It has to be something that I can work with those on the other side of the aisle to make happen. So I came up with a potential a prototype legislation on fixing the current immigration crisis that would do that and would make sure that Border Patrol stays on the border. Now, when it comes to the cooperation between ICE and our current cities, first of all, the federal government has absolutely no authority to demand that any state or any city or any official therein complies with that federal agency. That is beyond the purview of what is allowed the federal government by the Constitution. I do not think the cities should have to comply. I think the cities should be free to set their own standard. This is a really big deal right now in Montana because we have the governor actively attacking cities that are simply mandating anti-mask laws and identification laws for all law enforcement, federal, state, and local. I think that is very telling because it shows that these are communities that are passing these ordinances with overwhelming support, and they are trying to be mandated by these higher powers that is illegal. Now, that is absolutely not the way that this country has ever been set up. We've always delegated power down that chain of command to make sure that at the end of the day, the most individual citizens of the United States are being represented.
All right. I like all of those responses. I wanted to talk about something that we don't really get into in these town halls or candidate roundtables because it uses one of the no-no words, first of all, and people don't respect the rules around here. But I'm wondering in this next...
Do you feel attacked, LaVon? I feel attacked.
I'm wondering, though, in this next... This class that's coming up in 2027 in the state houses and at the federal level, will we see some codification of the right to choose? Right? What do you all think about reproductive rights access in your state? I know in Cortney, we have it in our Constitution, but the state government is still trying to restrict access and people are suing. I don't know how it is in North Carolina or Montana, but what do we think about this finally being codified at the federal level? And could that be seen as, I guess, federalism? The federal government trying to tell the states, hey, you need to do this. We're tired of going back and forth at the court level. We're tired of people having to go from state to state to get the care that they need. We need to just codify this, and that's it. Courtney, what do you think?
I think absolutely we need to address it at the federal level, because people are being criminalized for saving lives at this point. When maternal life is at risk and physicians cannot intervene for fear of losing their license or potential legal consequence, then somebody has to step in and say, this is absolutely ridiculous. We cannot risk the mother's life because these doctors are afraid to intervene. And so we have to address it at the federal level. And because state to state, these laws are so different and can be so punitive from one state to the next. And a lot of women or young women or children have no access to the services that they need, and they have no resources to get to the services that they need, that it has to be federalized. Especially because so many of these states are there's no right to choose, no matter the situation. Family instances, forced instances. And you can never tell me that person or that child should be forced into that situation to become a parent. In those instances, there's absolutely no religious or moral reason to force those people into those situations. And so I think it has to be addressed federally, because from state to state, region to region, it's just too different across the board. People are scared to address it. Physicians are scared to help. So that's right.
Sam, thank you, Courtney. Sam, I see you got your hand up.
Oh, no, I was trolling somebody in the comments.
Oh, it says, who's voting for these people? Raise your hands.
I am.
Me too.
Well, I mean,
who cares?
So
sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We welcome all people to the Our Vote Counts forums, trolls, witches, warlocks, princesses, kings, queens, the whole
drama queens,
dragons.
we love our fans.
We do.
Absolutely.
I love my fans. I guess that just means we're doing something right.
You are.
Listen, I've been a teacher for 23 years. I've taught at this point tens of thousands of young women. I have a 3.5-year-old that thinks she's 40, toddler. I'm a girl dad, right? Bottom line, full stop, the government has no place in making decisions that women and their doctors can make on their own. Full stop. The only thing that the federal government should truly be doing is making sure that when women seeking healthcare and making critical healthcare choices for themselves, that they are going to safe places that are regulated, making sure that they're going to get the best type of care. We just in North Carolina, in the county up from us, and mind you, North Carolina is probably the only state in the South now that actually still has the least restrictive A rights. because you got to use that TikTok. See, I love
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
The least restrictive A rights that people can still receive that type of care. But we just had a police officer who was 34 years old die unnecessarily because she could not receive that critical health care. It was either have a heart attack because of the way that her she had a irregular heartbeat, and so because of the way that our laws work here in the state, she unnecessarily died. I love the questions of, on this topic, because you can be pro-choice and be pro-life too. And I said that on my live, and somebody was like, how can you be both? Well, pro-life, if we care about the life of someone, that means we're caring about it from the beginning until the end. That's providing maternal health care that is accessible, where people are not having to drive, out of the state to receive health care. That's also talking about making sure that mothers are educated, or future mothers are educated on how to care for their child. That's all part of the thing. And what happens is we get lost in the minutia of, well, this is all about the death of young people. I'm trying to craft my words here. I'm so blunt.
It does force you to stop and think before you talk, doesn't
Stop
it?
and think about it. But I'm endorsed by Planned Parenthood, which is not illegal to say here. And I've been proud to be endorsed by Planned Parenthood. But Planned Parenthood does so much more than what people think that they're just known for. And so, when we talked about folks who are living on a fixed income, a lot of the healthcare needs that they get are from Planned Parenthood and other organizations like that. So I do think on the federal level at this point, maybe they need to codify it. I just feel like nobody's asking me and Sam about our most precious areas of our body, and they're not restricting what things about our most precious area of our body. So why are we inside of a woman's doctor's office when I think that they're fully capable of making the best decisions for themselves and not the government?
Okay, thank you, LaVon.
LaVon for president. LaVon for president.
So I'm fully and with my full chest in favor of right to choose. I think that, like echoing the other candidates here, that there is no place for the government to be dictating the rights of an individual. This is overreach. It is authoritarian, and it is forcing over half of our population to have less rights than the rest, and that is absolutely unacceptable. Now, when it comes to the idea of federalizing it or not, now. In my state, actually just last year, despite one of the reddest election waves in recent memory, access to this kind of healthcare was codified into the state constitution last year. Now, despite that, of course, there are a number of folks that were very, very unhappy about that. In fact, one of the people that in my Democratic primary that I'm running against is actually running to repeal this. Which is insane to me. But, so when it comes to the idea of federalizing, I don't think that it's federalism. What I think that it is that, as I always, continue to say over and over again, it is the federal government's responsibility to make sure that the rights of each and every citizen are protected as fully as possible. That includes making sure the right to bodily autonomy is accessible to every single individual. Now, what I will say, and what I'm firmly in favor of doing, is having the federal infrastructure of it give extremely general parameters. It forces there to be access. It forces there, especially for medically necessary access, to be available. And it forces that you cannot have any kind of either partial or total ban. However, leave the minutia of it, leave the exact number of weeks, leave the exact determinations up to the individual states. That way, each state is still able to have their own, particular spin on it. We're not forcing every single state into the exact alignment. And states that do have a population that is going to vote more conservatively or more liberally will be able to still express themselves as they choose to. And, at that point, we are making sure that under all medically necessary circumstances that each and every single woman is protected. And beyond that, if you do not like the way that your state came down on it, like we did here in Montana, which is a very, very conservative state, we still sat there and said, okay, if you're not going to get behind us on this, then you're out and we'll find someone who will. And I think that, as long as we make sure that no woman's life is in danger and no woman's right to liberty and bodily autonomy is actually in jeopardy, allowing that more fine point decision to be made at the state level is not necessarily a bad thing.
And I mean, Sam is correct. This is where we're gonna have this is what you want, right? Different perspective, different lenses. Sometimes I don't even trust the state based on who's residing, because again, yes, first of all, we should have just respected Roe v. Wade, and has been the law of the land for decades, right? We should have protected that and kept that. But since our Supreme Court is very political in nature and not independent thinkers in their own right, this is where we have states that are either doing a complete ban, or they're saying 6 weeks, or that I don't leave it up.
Not enough.
You know what I'm saying? So when leaving it up to the states to determine some of this is also going to be part of the problem. And this is also the reason why we have young women and women who are seeking that type of healthcare dying unnecessarily, or they're having to carry to term a child that was because of something that happened to them that they didn't what's the word I'm looking for, that they didn't want. Yeah, consent. There you go. Thank you. They didn't consent to. So when you have something like that happens, and that could be whether it's through somebody, family member, or somebody that they didn't know, and you leave it up to the states, and the states say, hey, 6 weeks.
Well, see, and that's the thing is, I think that the federal guidelines need to be much more protected than that. They need to make sure it's not limited like that, and especially for non-consent, it should never be limited to 6 weeks, things like that. I definitely think at the federal level we have to codify and protect that, before anything else. Yeah,
because in states like Ohio, the people vote on an issue, and then our state legislature comes in and overturns it. That's what they did with our green trees recently. The people voted on it, and the state legislatures came in and said, you know what, actually, we know you guys voted for this, but we're just going to take it away. We're going to change it all because we don't like it. So that's what they've done. So now we're getting it back on the ballot, right, because that's what these state legislatures are doing to us here in Ohio. And so to LaVon's point, definitely, and to Sam's point, absolutely codifying certain things, but making sure that there are protections in there that allow, because a lot of women don't know that they are carrying for two months sometimes, 2.5 months sometimes. So definitely putting protections in there that can't be overturned by the state in certain circumstances.
And I don't know if your state in Montana or in Ohio, if your judges' races are partisan. In North Carolina, they purposely made, I want to say in 8 years ago, maybe, they made all judges' races partisan. So now, even if your state does decide on a parameter, right, and somebody appeals, so it looks to appeal it, and it goes to whether it's your appellate court or your Supreme Court, depending on the makeup of that court, a lot of times it's so political now that they are not even following state statute sometimes. And so we have to really be careful about how we are going about and be purposeful on how we go about protecting women. And so that's another thing.
Well, and I guess that just to clarify my point there, the reason why I say that we still need to have some level of the state being able to stay is because, as we've seen just in the past, let's say three different presidents, not presidential terms, but the three different people we've had in the presidency, depending on the administration, we see the whims of Congress swing wildly. So my fear, by completely federalizing it, would be that any law can be overturned by another law that Congress decides to put forward. We need to make sure that the federal government is creating these guidelines that's going to make sure that every woman is safe, every woman has access. At the same time, we do still need there to be some state component so that if there is a truly authoritarian regime in play, that authoritarian regime cannot simply overturn that one law and create absolute chaos. Especially at that point, we'd have a precedent set at the federal level for having something about this issue dictated at the federal level. They could overturn it, use that precedent to make a new law that is a complete ban across the way. That's the main reason I want to see some component of both, but with the federal government demanding protections that make sure that no woman is left in a horrible situation.
Well,
Yeah, I see that the balance between, some check of power between the states and the federal government. It makes sense.
But it also seems that with the current administration that they can just sign executive orders and just say this is what it is and sue me, right? So we're at an inflection point, not just in this particular issue, but in all the other issues I'm sure that we're going to be talking about throughout the next half hour or so. But like we the checks and balances has to be there. But if we're going to truly consider ourselves a free country, if we're going to say that we're free, again, I don't know any other medical issue outside of gender affirming care that the government tells you what you can and cannot do. And it truly seems like it's always lopsided when it comes to women. And I trust a woman more than I trust some of the old geezers that's sitting in the Congress right now that are no longer going to be, that no longer can have or care for a child at this point, making decisions. They didn't go to school for it. They don't understand the parameters of why this is an important decision for a woman to make. And I think we also need to get rid of some of the fear and scare tactics that this stuff happens so rampantly, and it almost like it dilutes how critical of a decision that a woman has to make in order to do that.
Yeah, they make it out like you're just going through a drive-through.
Right.
Like a woman just goes, "Oh, you know what? I don't want this anymore. I'm just going to stop by the clinic and get rid of it." That's absolutely not how it goes. It's a life-altering decision for 99 out of 100 women or whatever the statistic is. It's a life-changing decision that no man will ever have to make. So why are they, like you said, why are they making the decisions for women? So yeah, you're absolutely right, is that they're using these fear tactics and these late term ones that they say are happening all of the time, and it's all the fear mongering that they use. Yeah, the propaganda to control the masses who don't know any better.
Okay, so we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're still going to be talking about the federal level, but this time this is something pretty broad. We're dealing with an administration where the president essentially holds for ransom federal funding if he doesn't like who the governor is, who the mayor of a particular city is, if he doesn't like the way an election is going. He'll say, okay, well, you can't get your funds for this, or he doesn't like a project that federal funds have been earmarked for, like some of the projects under the infrastructure law passed by the Biden administration. He didn't like that some of these, some of the contractors being used were all racial minorities. He didn't like that. He thought that was racist. So he wants to withhold funds. What do you think, Courtney, can be done at the congressional level to address this action from the federal government, essentially holding SNAP and Medicaid funds for ransom because the president is not satisfied with the level of, I don't know, butt kissing or capitulating that a particular state or city does?
Congress is allowing the president to have way more power than he actually has. He is part of the executive branch. He's not part of the legislative branch. He's not part of the budgetary branch. I don't know why they're allowing him to have this power or to enact this type of power. So Congress really needs, honestly, it's a simple answer. Congress needs to get it together and hold this man accountable in the form of impeachment. And that's all this really comes down to. They have not exercised the powers of Congress in holding him accountable for any of his tyrannical, treasonous actions. So that's what this is. The first time he tried to starve this nation, he should have been impeached. The first time, well, when he, struck Iran last year, he should have been impeached. But, all the Democrats turned out, nobody backed Al Green up. So the first time he tried to starve Americans, he should have been impeached, and we wouldn't be going through all of this now. We wouldn't have to go through all of this rigmarole if Congress actually enacted their power and checked him. So that's really what this all comes down to, is Congress is not, they're putting up this imaginary red tape and acting powerless when really they are the ones with the authority to check the president's action.
So do you think, Sam, that the federal legislature should enact protections to make sure that the money that is allocated, the states actually receive that money, it goes to that project, and it's not sitting somewhere or being held for ransom?
No, 100%. I mean, to echo what Courtney is saying, it is 100% in my mind an impeachable offense that the president is overreaching his power like this. The powers of the purse are that of Congress. The president has absolutely no authority granted by the Constitution to have anything to do with our federal budget or how that money is distributed, when it's distributed. They have no say in it. And in my opinion, what we really need to have is we need to have a new Congress that is willing to self-report and self-criticize enough to pass a law that specifically holds Congress accountable if they surrender the powers of the purse. That is what I want to see done, to make it so that there is a consequence for the people that we are electing to the U.S. House and to the U.S. Senate to dare to give up the power that we, the people, are entrusting them with. Because that is not what we do, and that is how we create an authoritarian kingship within America.
Okay, thank you. LaVon, what do you think states can do in the State House to ensure that they receive the federal funds that are coming to them?
A couple of things. I'm gonna answer that. I think Sam and Courtney, they played it very nice. I'm going to say that this Congress needs to grow a set, in coaches' terminology, basketballs. Okay, they need to grow a set of basketballs.
Gotcha.
All right, and they need to say we're not a dictatorship, we're not a monarchy, we are a free and open society, and we believe in checks and balances. Yes, the president, the current person who sits in the office, should have been impeached. He shouldn't, he really should be behind bars, in my opinion, from the last stuff. But from what the states are doing, I love my attorney general. He is TikTok famous. His name is Jeff Jackson. I try to emulate him in my TikToks every once in a while as a spoof, but continue to sue the federal government, and that's the only way that the states have to garner against this type of stuff, where things are already, when we set a budget and we pass a budget or approve a budget, like, there's no withholding of those funds. That is what Congress has said, these funds go to this. So you can't, because you're mad at my fraternity brother Wes Moore, because you're mad at him and say, hey, we're not going to fund this project. You know, it's un-American, to be honest with you. It's un-American, and what we as leaders across the aisle, we as Americans across the aisle have to say enough is enough. I'm sure, like Sam and Courtney, we're tired of waking up and staying, and the first thing we see is the first thing we're thinking about, the first thing we're going to read is, what did he do now? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think the American people are tired of waking up to, what did he do now? Mm-hmm. And the people who are acquiescing, the people who are stepping and fetching it for him, and that's not just on the federal level, but you know, clearly state legislatures are stepping and fetching when they try to redraw lines. Those people are going to have to be held accountable. They got to be held accountable. You're playing politics. This is not The Apprentice. I know the only project that this person cares about is Project 2025. That's the only project that he truly cares about. But you're playing with people's lives, and when you play politics and you're thinking that you're, you know, on NBC, and you're firing this person or you're firing that project, do you know how many people that affects? That money that somebody desperately needs, right? So I think from a state perspective, again, state attorney generals have to have the guts to go against the White House and say, hey, like we need these dollars for hurricane relief. We need these dollars for SNAP. We need these dollars for Medicaid expansion. We need these dollars because it affects millions and millions of our citizens, and they're going to be looking at us.
Okay, I love all of those answers. You all are you should be like I don't know, like president, vice president, secretary of state type of deal, some kind of trifecta. I love all of the answers. Three Musketeers. Yes. I love all of the answers.
I've had in a while.
Yeah, I want to ask you we have about 15 minutes left. I'm going to ask you about your campaigns and who you are as a candidate. How's the campaigning going? I know, Sam, your primary is in June, correct? Mm-hmm. And Courtney, you're in May. Ohio is in May.
Well, I won't be on the primary.
That's right.
I'm running independent.
That's right.
I just have to have my petitions turned in by the primary. Right. And then I'll be on the general ballot in November.
And LaVon, you don't have a primary?
I'm on the ballot in November.
Okay. So a lot of campaigning still left to go. How are you all feeling? Are you worn out? Are you feeling do you have the doldrums? Do you need to get an injection of something? You need some
B12.
B12?
I'm actually just getting energized because this weather is just starting to change for the better here. So I'm really starting to, I'm like a freight train, you know, it was slow starting and I'm starting to gain some momentum here. So I'm really feeling good with mine.
So what do you think candidates should be doing besides phone banking and knocking on doors? Is there something more you all should be doing? Some newfangled thing the kids should be trying out?
Yeah, they should be following me on TikTok at LaVon. Plug. I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you're in a race like ours that's in it for the long haul of things, yeah, I think you're getting tired of phone call time is like the worst sometimes, and phone banking. But I've been hitting doors, and I think it's never too early to hit those doors. It's never too early, and like not hitting doors saying, "Hey, vote for me now," because there's nothing for them to vote for me now. But it's knocking doors to hear what they feel is the most important issues that in turn can craft the message. Because right now, as we living and breathing, we went from the Epstein files, the X files. I don't know if TikTok is allowing me to say the Epstein files. E-files. I'm sorry. The E-files to Iran. And then 6 months from now or 4 months from now, it could be something totally different. But you know what's But you know what though, on the state level, most people are not necessarily caring too much about the national stuff, because the things that affect them the most, like trying to eat, pay their bills, come from the state and the local level. And so like trying to listen to their stories is what gives me more and more energy to know that I'm doing the right thing by stepping into the arena, because I carry those stories with me wherever I go. And I find that regardless of if you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green, whatever, we have so much more in common than we do in difference. We just may sometimes have a different way of getting there. But if you're a leader and you're elected, you're representing everyone and not just one side. So having those meaningful conversations right now is what candidates should be doing outside of phone banking and call time.
Okay, Sam, how's it going for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm in a little bit of an interesting district because let's just say door knocking is not an advised activity if you would like to see tomorrow. Where I live. And that, and also, depending on where you are in my district, the next door down might be about 35 minutes down the road. So, instead, I've been focusing on what is it that my campaign can do to make sure that the lives of the people in my district are made better now, not just once I'm in office. So, of course, I've been getting out to every event I can. Yesterday, I was out with one of the local tribes at one of their events. I've been traveling all around the state. Last week, not including actually doing my day job, because I'm far too broke to be doing this full time, I put in 1,700 miles in my district last week alone.
Oh, wow.
Making sure that I'm out there meeting with every, small group, local group of people that I can, sitting down. And the thing that I say all the time is Montana is far too big of a place for everybody to need the same thing. And rather than coming into, these small towns and telling them what they need, I want to sit down and listen to them. And this has been from high school classes all the way up to senior centers. Sit down and ask them, what is it that is the thing in your lives that has caused you or your family's pain? And then I try to come up on the spot, and I answer them right there on the spot with what I can imagine is a solution that I could do at the federal level to make those issues better. Beyond that, we had a man, the only diesel mechanic in a 300-mile radius up here, who got taken by ICE, who I have been directly part of the fight to help him, to help his family, to help his community. There was a man who went missing in another small town over on the western side of our state, and I was able to mobilize my platform to be able to actually get him found before something bad happened to him. I've been doing 50-50 fundraisers where part of the money goes to my campaign and the rest of it is going to a local cause like kids after school programs or the local veteran center, things like that can make sure that regardless of if I win or lose, Montana is left off a better place for me having run. And in doing that, it's building the understanding amongst the people out here that I will do as much as I'm physically capable of doing to help them. And yeah, I'm exhausted all the time, but that's just part of it.
Yeah, that's what I've been focused on. A lot of mutual aid, getting out there, because Cleveland is one of the poorest congressional districts in the nation. So I've been volunteering with a group where we're actually out there working food distribution, where there's no requirements. You don't have to show ID. You don't have to have proof of income. You just show up, you get the food, whatever you need, and you go. And I'm able to talk to people. I'm able to find out about, their lives, what their needs are. We also have clothing, if they need clothing, whatever. And we're working to grow this program because this is what people in Cleveland need, because our dollars are being voted away right now, right out of our district. So that's what I'm doing to keep myself grounded, to keep myself energized, getting out there with the people who I want to represent, because I don't want to be out there with the donor class. I want to be out there with the real people of Cleveland, because that's who I'm coming to Congress to represent, is the working class, the real people.
Okay, thank you. And we do have 2 questions from the audience. We're going to go first with Aaron. Aaron, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, this is a question for Cortney, Lux, and LaVon. I'm voicing concerns about the public broadcasting, and if you win the election, will it bring the funds back to public radio and TV? I'm going to start with LaVon.
So I think this is going to be a Sam. I'm running for state house, and Sam's running for Congress. But I would speak on behalf of North Carolina that the state of North Carolina, continued our PBS funding away. So my daughter gets to still watch Sesame Street and Elmo and all of that stuff. Now, in other states, it may be different because each state had the decisions to make. But Sam, I think Sam and Courtney would be best to answer that question. Thank you.
If I can, if I can jump in, I believe that public broadcasting is an incredibly important part of our infrastructure. And not only do I want to see the funding restored to it, what I want to see is that infrastructure that we have for public broadcasting modernized away from the older systems, which are incredibly cost ineffective. Move it over to a true point-to-point grid across the country that will be cheaper, that will be faster, and that will allow us to continue to fund public broadcasting indefinitely without it being and actually increase that funding without it even being close to a drain on the public resource.
It's so hard to follow Sam when he talks because he just knows everything about everything.
Comprehensive, isn't he?
I know. Infrastructure, all of it. I would absolutely back funding public radio, public broadcasting, because I think the whole point of defunding that was to get your propaganda back out there. We're not getting unbiased news anymore. We're not getting quality programming for kids that is inclusive. So absolutely, I would support funding these programs again, because we need more quality programming that is either unbiased or more inclusive, because that's the world that we live in.
Hey, Courtney, hit me up with a message sometime. I'd love to work on some prototype legislation to get that on the books for us.
Yes, Sam, I will. Sam and I are both courage candidates, so we know how to get in touch. We know how to get in touch with one another.
All right, so recently, some of the stations are switching to independence, and two of the stations, or one, including New Jersey PBS, is shut down. I mean, what's happening?
Yeah, every state, like LaVon said, every state had to make a decision about whether they wanted to continue to invest in independent public broadcasting, and some states said, "See ya."
Yep.
And it's surprising for New Jersey because they're a pretty blue state from what I know. But hopefully, they're getting some progressives in at the federal level now. So hopefully they'll see the swing in the right direction now.
Yeah, and unless they find a new one that can take over New Jersey PBS, it's going to shut down on July 30th. So,
Aaron, I would just continue to encourage you to reach out to your local lawmakers and press upon them the importance of PBS, not even just from the early childhood programming that PBS that we all grew up on, clearly, but also like just some of the other important program that it gave to local people, like local spotlighting, like businesses or different types of groups that are just doing great things in your community. So I would just encourage you to just reach out to those lawmakers. Go on social media and TikTok and express like, hey, we need to extend this, and because we know how important this is to our community.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Aaron.
That's all for everything. So good luck on the debate. Fight back. Tell them that you voice concerns for PBS, and make sure you win so we could bring back.
Thank you, Aaron.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Bye, guys. That's all for me. Bye.
All right, let's see who else we got here. All right. Go ahead. Is it Bibler?
Yes, Lauren Bibler.
I know this guy.
Do you?
1 second. I'm with my audio only. I'm trying to get the
Is that
camera
a good
going.
thing or a bad thing, LaVon?
It's a good thing because Lauren is actually going to be on a town hall that I'm doing in a couple of hours. He's one of our United States congressional candidates in the district that I'm in. So,
All right.
Yes. I'm running to unseat Richard Hudson in North Carolina's 9th congressional. We have a tough primary coming up with myself, Richard Ojeda, Nigel Bristow, and Link Carr. But happy to be on and a little bit. But I just had a county debate from Randolph County, and I wanted to pop in and thank y'all for inviting me to come on and speak.
Thank you. So you have a primary.
Yes, I do.
Okay, and it's Tuesday.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so in the few minutes that we have left, Mr. Biebler, tell us why you make a better candidate than all the other dudes in the race.
Thank you. So I'm young. I believe that actions speak louder than words. And I believe that my education and my work history of being a steward and managing stress is really what this country needs. We need to make our government work for our people in a way that allows us to have purpose in our family, productiveness in our workforce, and time in our personal lives to be active in our community, go to a movie, play some golf, XYZ. But I believe that doing this work and being out in the community, I'll be a good representative, not only because of my youth and experience, but because of my willingness to do the work that needs to be done.
Oh, you think because you a baby, they should vote for you?
No, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. I don't like how you youngins, you millennials come in here, or you zennials come in here with your, well, I'm really young.
I know,
and
she got
all the
me for
rest of
being
these
a
people
millennial
are
the other day.
Hey,
Now, with
how old are you,
respect,
Mike?
I am running on AI regulation and large language model regulation, and a lot of our current representatives can't open a PDF document. And no shade to them because my grandfather was a career civil servant, and he hated some of these changes that came in through Washington. But at the same time, we need to be able to have some expertise in fields to where when lobbyists come up and try to pull the wool over our representatives' eyes, we can be like, no. I know exactly what you're trying to do, and I can dispute you with facts because I have expertise in this field.
All right. I like that. Thank you, Mr. Biebler.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I'll ask the rest of you the same question. What makes you better than the other candidates who are running in your race? LaVon?
It's real simple because you can see me, reach out to me, have a beer with me, all the things that I don't currently see with the representative that has been in the seat. And also at the same time, you're going to have a representative that is you, working class. Living, breathing. I've known what it's felt like to be broke, and I've known what it's felt like to be able to buy your first home. And I want the same for all of the people in Alamance County, but in North Carolina and throughout the United States for that matter, is we want representation that you can actually see, representation that wants to be held accountable, representations that's not going to avoid conflict, and representation that wants to be collaborative and not put in that and not have me, the representative up here, and you, the people that are paying me to do the job down here. And so we are in need of that representation across the board. And so I know that I'm going to bring that when we win the seat in November.
Okay, Sam, go ahead.
So, I'm running for the same reason I think that people should vote for me. And that's the fact that, as somebody who has grown up in the poorest end of a very, very rural area and has experienced all of the hardships that go along with that, and has grown up working in the ranching and the farming industry that is so prevalent in the area that I live, I understand intimately the struggles. I understand intimately how hard it is to actually, not even get ahead, but just keep your head above water. And it's something that I've made it pretty open in my campaign that I have not always had the cleanest past myself. And I want to make sure that others do not have to go through the struggles that I did when I was growing up, that they are able to afford to live the American dream and not the American dystopia that it has become. And that is something that I, show every day, regardless of if it's showing up to put shoes on a horse while I have a leg in a cast because another one broke my leg, or whether that is making sure that I'm driving 1,700 miles in a week to make sure that each and every Montanan is getting representation. I am going to show up every single day to make sure that no one has to live that struggle. Also, Biebler, I got you beat by a year. I'm still the youngest guy here.
Oh, yeah? Let's go.
All right, Courtney, go ahead.
The thing that's going to set me apart from my opponent and from the other people in this race, I am not going to be bought. And no matter what, I will always have my integrity. You can take whatever you like from me, but you will never take my integrity. And that's something that I can take to the bank. I think that that's an issue that too many of our representatives have, is they're all bought and paid for the most part, with an exception of about a dozen. And that's something that Cleveland can't afford, because we can't afford to have representation who will vote our dollars away. And that's what I'm bringing to the table, is a guarantee that I am going to put this district first above any kind of lobbyist who's going to come at me. If you're not going to represent the people who I am here to represent, then get out of my face. I am not interested.
Okay, well, thank you. We are at that auspicious time. Well, it's time to shut everything down. I want to thank every single one of you, including Mr. Biebler, who we only got for a few minutes, but I appreciate you coming.
Absolutely. I'm happy I got to make it at all.
And good luck on Tuesday, Mr. Biebler.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would love to have some of you back again, since Sam, you're in June, Courtney, you're in May, LaVon, you're in November. Not May. Courtney, forgive me. I keep, you know what?
November. I know.
November.
A lot of stuff is happening in May in Ohio.
Yes, we would love to have you all back here again. We do these roundtables every other week. Also, coming up on Tuesday, we are having another town hall. Actually, March is full of town halls. So we have primaries coming up. We have we're going to do, I think, a results night for the Tuesday primaries also. We have so many things going on in March, but on Tuesday, March 3rd at 8 o'clock p.m., we're going to be talking to Jakia Johnson, who is running for the U.S. House out of Maryland's 4th District. Again, Tuesday, March 3rd at 8 o'clock p.m., Jakia Johnson, who is running for U.S. House out of Maryland's District 4. And again, join us back here, you guys, for more rousing conversation with some people who actually know what they're talking about. LaVon for North Carolina, Sam for Montana, Sam Lux for Montana, Courtney for Congress out of Ohio, Biebler out of North Carolina. I just love saying your name, Mr. Biebler. I love saying it. But, and I'm Ayana. This is Our Vote Counts. I want to thank the audience for being here, the people who were brave enough to ask a question. Even if it didn't get answered, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
We
also have a creators caucus on Saturday, March 7th, where we're gathering a bunch of creators from TikTok to ask them questions about the political landscape, what they see happening now, what they think is going to go on in the future, and why they keep showing up to do this every day. There's some people who show up to debate Trump supporters every single day, and I don't know where they find the energy, but God bless them. So yeah, join us for those fun events. And again, this is OVC. We are a nonpartisan movement. Our Vote Counts, uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, like the four we see here today. and ensure every voice is heard through education, outreach, accountability, and action. We are building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. We thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here again on Tuesday. Everyone, remember, your vote is your power, and whoever is eligible to vote on Tuesday and you still haven't voted, you better vote. I mean that. I'm not playing around. Everybody, have a good week.
Make a plan, bring a friend.